I'm Dave Wiesdock, Sage of Creative Scaffolding.
And I'm Jen West, Professional Rebel of Delight.
And this is Shadow Casting. Welcome, listeners, to Shadow Casting. This week, we are doing a
quote day.
Oh, yeah, quote day.
Quote day. Doesn't matter. You only get it for a week, so.
That's right. So, our quote today is, and I am hoping I am pronouncing this correctly, it's from an ancient Chinese philosopher in the 3rd and 4th century BC. His name is Chuang Tzu. And this particular translation comes from the book, The Need to Win, The Way of Chuang Tzu. And it was translated by Thomas Merton and the Dalai Lama. It was like a collaborative effort. And I just found that this quote was just so freaking cool. That's the only way I can describe it. And I think our audience will love it. And I'm hoping some good discussion comes from it today with my awesome co-host, Jen.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm excited.
Awesome. So here we go. When an archer is shooting for fun, he has all his skill. If he shoots for a brass buckle, he is already nervous. If he shoots for a prize of gold, he goes blind. Or sees two targets, he is out of his mind. His skill has not changed, but the prize divides him. He cares. He thinks more of winning than shooting. And the need to win drains his power.
Yeah, that quote has so much in it, and it's more a feel quote, like, oh yeah, at least for me. Like when I'm playing around, just a quick example, when I go rock climbing, when I'm in the gym and I'm just cruising around and I'm looking at routes to go up and I just climb it, my body does it and I flow through it. If somebody's watching or I'm trying to show somebody, then I can't remember the moves I did. And, if it's a harder route, then I realize, oh, it's a hard route. How did I do that so easily yesterday? Yeah, the quote just breathes for me.
I really like how you just phrased that at the end there. It breathes for you. I think that that's why this quote is more of a feeler than a thinker, maybe, because this is about literally getting out of your mind. The point is to get out of the thinking, because that is the archer's problem in this poem. So I thought what would be cool is just addressing like the very obvious, like top level interpretation of this, which is obviously maybe not obviously, but the way that I interpret this is that he's getting at the point that the archer is divided by his goal. Does he want the prize, the money, or is he trying to shoot his shot and hit the target with the arrow? And what ends up happening is the higher the prize, the higher the reward, or as I would like to caveat with this, the higher the risk, the more divided you become, because then your attention is divided. When his attention is solely just on hitting the target, he's able to do it. But as his attention gets divided, it gets harder and harder for him to be able to hit the target he is trying to hit. And you brought up a rock climbing example, which I think is awesome, because that is really like physical and like in the body, right? This is about getting out of the mind and the distractions that we have in our head every day, every hour of every minute sometimes, and getting into just being present and in the moment and on what you should be focused on in that moment. And for me, while this is kind of dips back into the mental territory a bit, I think that the example still works in that, like on the business side of things, I've gone through this experience of applying for jobs now. And if I make the target getting the job, which obviously would be a nice goal, I think that that's like kind of like that brass buckle or the gold prize, right? Because it's that risk, that reward for your effort. But the idea with this poem is that you're putting in the reps, you're putting in the effort, and you're keeping a singular focus. And so what I have learned as I'm applying for jobs is that I need to keep the focus on my lane. Where is my experience? Where is my contribution to myself, to the company? And how can I position myself in a way that is clear and effective and kind of cuts through all the noise around me? Just kind of like an arrow cuts through, air to get to its target. And so what I have found is that by keeping the focus on just the here, the now, and the effort that I'm putting in that moment, the other stuff works itself out. And not always, we have ebbs and flows in life, but even the archer isn't perfect 100% of the time. He's going to miss his shot every now and then. I think where the philosophical argument from this poem comes from is why? Were you just practicing and you just missed the shot? Or was your mind divided where you focused on 100 different things and like that's why? Because when your mind is in 100 different directions, it's hard to progress in what you're doing.
And as you're talking about that, something else hit me that mirrors but kind of veers off a little bit. It's talking about the archer hitting a target, but his focus is on the winning. So a different target. He's got two targets. He's got an outcome target and he's got his target, like the winning of everything. And if we're to put that back into life, it's focusing on that piece you don't have control of, an outcome that's external to you, where there are other people involved, there are other forces involved, there's environment that's involved that you have no control over, versus you and the target you have that you do have control over. So your thoughts, your feelings, your choices, your actions. And that's all. You don't have control of that gold medal, the brass buckle, any of that stuff, because there are other people at play. But you do have control over your focus on what your body and what your mind is doing to lead to hitting the target now, to do the action now.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe I wasn't as clear in describing that, but that's exactly where my brain was going with that as well, is that the need to win is the other goal, right? That's what's dividing the archer's mind. It's the need to win versus hitting the target. And with the career example, maybe to make it a little more succinct, it's instead of I'm getting a job tomorrow by putting in 10 applications, it's I need to put in 10 applications. It's where is your effort and your result coming from? Because if on the reverse of that, if your goal is to just get a job, for example, that's draining your power because you're setting yourself up to fail. There's this incremental effort that needs to be applied. It's not that the archer is just going to get the gold. He has to hit the target first, and then he wins. And then, even if he hits the target, he has to hit it better than maybe the imaginary opponent he's facing if it's competition. The idea is that you have to, just like you were saying, you have to focus on where your loci of control is, like where you can focus. And to take this back out of the mental dip that I went into, I think I came up with a pretty good, like visceral example, which is meditation. I think meditation is a great example here in that a lot of meditation is about a singular focus, whether it's focusing on your breath, like certain breathing techniques, or to sink your mind into your body, or pick one, right? Almost every meditation has a specific focus when you sit down to do it. What happens is, naturally, all those techniques are geared to bringing us into the moment, because what happens is as we sit, our mind goes, oh yeah, I need to do the laundry. Oh yeah, I have to go run an errand. Oh yeah, I need to pick up my kids after. And it snowballs. And that's, I think, what they're kind of hitting at here is that as your mind starts to divide, it's really hard to bring it back in. And so the idea is you want to create and cultivate a space within yourself that can hold that solidity when things try to divide or grab your attention. And that's really, really hard, especially in today's culture where everything is geared specifically to divide your attention.
100%. I've actually done a mental exercise. The teacher didn't call it meditation because it was just brain training, but colloquially, one might call it a meditation, because the goal is to sit and feel into your body when a thought is about to arise. What triggers it? What sensation brings it about? Is it something you taste, something you smell, something you hear while you're sitting quietly? And then what thought does that bring? And then watching the thoughts progress and then killing it. And it's the craziest exercise to feel something arise and then have the thought there that's very pertinent to the moment. And then it just go off the rails almost instantly to some story somewhere else, who you're going to tell and why it's important to them. And then you're off the rails somewhere else. And yeah, it's crazy how quickly that happens. And being able to catch, as you practice, the energy of it arising before the thought even happens. And Yeah. And then choosing the thoughts to engage with, which ones lead you off a trail that isn't useful and which one leads you down a trail that is useful to create stuff.
Actually, I think that that's a really important point to underscore there, Jen, because it's not that the archer doesn't have a thought or a focus. It's just where is that thought and focus? It's that thought and focus is getting divided. I think that that can often be a misconception early on, is that you're trying to have this zazen, no mind, no thinking. But really, it's called a meditation practice because the idea is that you are practicing for when you're out in life. At least that's how I've come to understand and interpret it. It's like you are giving yourself a 10-minute or 15 or 20-minute crash course for the day in zoning your mind in and focusing. And that's the training. Like that's where you're building the muscle, right? It's just like going to the gym. You don't lift weights 24 hours a day. You go in for the half an hour or hour to lift the weights, but the benefit extends throughout your day. You're able to lift more, you're able to lift your kids better, or you're able to do more work around the house because you're sturdier in your body, you're healthier. It wasn't just because you're healthy in your body, it's because you showed up at the mat and did the effort. And that's where I think a great example of maybe another division could come in, because if you're trying to go to the gym and you're trying to do yoga and you're trying to do a martial art and you are
Hey, Dave, stop calling me out.
Okay, you're right. You're here's the thing. Here's a great example. See, you are systematically doing it with attention and focus, and it's all purposeful, going back towards the same goal. The problem is that I think where I'm getting at is people throw spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks, and there's no, I don't know, there's no feeling to it. It's all mental.
Yeah, it's no connectivity, and then it's just I got to try this, I got to try that. Maybe this will work instead of really engaging something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it starts to divide your body's ability because you can't. Actually, I shouldn't say you can't. It's harder if you were trying to go to the gym and be a bodybuilder and at the same time trying to become this calisthenically limber yoga folding person, right? Like those are two very different approaches to health. Both hit the quote unquote target of health, but the arrows are different. The goals are different. The rewards are different. The risks are different. If you're lifting weights, you are risking flexibility. If you are hyper focused on flexibility, you're risking or foregoing muscle mass. And so there's innately a division within that. And I think I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but like that's what comes to mind with this quote is cultivating a connected sinew of focus that is contributing towards that goal. Because that's where I was going with this. So the reason that I bring that up is because the gold and the brass buckle, they don't contribute to the archer, right? They don't make him a better archer. They don't ensure that he is going to hit that target any better than if the reward wasn't there. That's why it's a divide, because it's not in his sinew. It's not in his connectivity. Maybe if you really want to like use your imagination, he's going to use the gold to get better equipment so that he becomes a better archer. Okay. But then you're adding more story, like Jen was talking about, and you've gone further down the rabbit hole of that contribution. And so your mind's even further divided because now, if you don't get the gold, you're just beating yourself up. Maybe I'm not meant to be the archer. Maybe. And you kind of go into that ego ego defense.
We don't have words today. Those big words are hard to say. We're going to stop.
So I don't know. There's a lot of fun play here, and it's a constant effort, right? It's constant tweaking and calibration. It's not like you just pick something, you're the archer, and that's it. Life happens, and you have to learn to navigate and kind of wade through all that. And I think what the analogy to the archer of that would be like, how far back do I pull the bow? How much strength do I use? How do I aim? How do I level my arms? How do I build that upper body strength? How do I focus? Do I keep one eye open or both eyes open? Where's my head? All of those tiny calibrations are what we do in real life to hit our own targets. But the problem is when we step out of that and we get divided by the gold, the brass buckle, the social media, the shiny object, whatever it is, that's what stops us from the calibrating. And then we go, oh, I'm no good at this. Well, no, it's that your focus got divided. So bring it back and try to get back into that. I'll call it flow, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's chef's kiss. Perfect way to end it.
Great.
All right, audience. What do you think of the quote in The Archer, and whether your mind is divided or on what it needs to be focused on? Are you outcome or are you on process? Let us know, and hope you enjoyed this quote.
Oh, love that question. Just had to throw that in there. And for those listening, make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. Share it out to your friends and family. Drop us a like so we know that you enjoyed this podcast, and leave us a comment. Let us know if I totally butchered that Chinese philosopher's name, or how you did on Jen's question and challenge with this quote.
Yeah, stay in touch. We love to chat.
Yeah. And until next time.
See ya.